What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a movie that I got to check out this past Thursday, and I meant to do my weekly review of the theatrically released movie that I usually watch, but I had some friends in town who went to go see the movie with me, and I didn't want to, kind of stop spending time with them to film a video, edit the video, and do all of that. So I'm a little bit late to this review in terms of when I would have usually uploaded it, but I was very happy to see that my local theater had an anime playing at the theater at all, which I thought was really, really awesome. Outside of, Fathom events that'll bring back a classic movie that has some sort of heavier price tag on it, or a movie that's coming out in very limited release, also in sort of something like a Fathom event or something like that usually has a bit of a bigger price tag. Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of anime that come through my local theater that have a traditional theatrical run that allow me to use my AMC A-list on that in order to actually watch the movie. So thankfully we did, and that movie is called Inu-Oh. Directed by Masaaki Yuasa and starring people like Avu-chan and Mirai Moriyama, this film is an anime that tells us a different tale of a historical tale in Japan that has to do with a blind young boy and a deformed individual that is riddled with talent. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video, and if you're wondering why I may sound a little bit more hush, I woke up, I let one of my friends out that I mentioned before, who was staying over for a little bit. They just left, but my roommate, the Big Rob Theory, is still sleeping, so I wanted to just review this. It was on my mind to do, now that I have the time and I'm awake and my brain is awake. I figured, let's talk about this movie, but I am going to be speaking in a little bit more of a hushed tone, so I'll just up the volume in the editing process for you guys to hear a little bit better, but if you're wondering why I'm speaking in a little bit more of a hushed tone, that is why. Yeah, this was a movie I was really intrigued by because, like I mentioned in the intro, you don't really get a whole lot of anime that come through my theater that will have a traditional theatrical release. More often than not, it's like, hey, we're going to bring back some Studio Ghibli films, or we're going to bring, some big new anime film for like 2 days, and it's going to be part of a Fathom event where it's like, a little bit of a heavier price and whatever the case may be. But I was very happy to see Inu-Oh on the list of movies I could watch in the theaters with my AMC A-list this week. So while others may be going to see Bodies, Fall, or Emily the Criminal, I went and checked out this one. And in a way, I wish I had seen one of those other movies, but in a way, I'm also glad I really saw this one. And this is a movie that I saw with 4 people, including myself. And we all had various different opinions. I was sitting right next to my mom, who watched the movie with us, and she loved it. I recently got my mom into anime for the first time, and she's watching One Piece right now, which is crazy. It's the first anime I ever got her into, and she's loving it. She's in the 800s already in terms of the episodes. And so, yeah, it was great to bring her to see an anime that's fully in Japanese, where you have to just read the subtitles, and she loved it. My mom is a huge fan of Japanese culture, and this movie definitely seeps itself very heavily into Japanese culture, as it is a retelling in a way of an actual real story that happened in real life. Now, going into this, I had no idea that was the case, and there is a novel that this movie itself is based on that tells that story in some way. And so, of course, in traditional anime fashion, you have this story being told in a bit of a more fantastical way to kind of tell its original story with, the exaggerated visuals and storytelling elements that you come to expect from anime. And then me, myself, as my mom loved it, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And that's what I'll start this with as far as myself. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But then my buddy Thomas, who I saw the film with, he loved it. He thought it was great. And then my other friend that we saw it with, Caleb, he was kind of so-so halfway with the movie. And so, as you can see, some differing opinions on the movie overall. But as I said, I liked it, didn't love it. The first thing I have to mention about this film that was absolutely phenomenal is the animation. There's an element of this animation that seems like it's trying to harken back to old school, just paintings of Japanese paintings. So there is an element to the film at times looking like still images, but as the movie progresses and we have these big over-the-top moments in the film, the animation is so crisp. And one of the things I loved the most about the animation was the lighting within the animation. So to see all the various, shots and dance sequences and musical numbers in this film, and having certain light effects go around these characters in this anime style, was super refreshing to see. And I just found that the film looked absolutely stunning, and it was great to see on a big screen. The basic premise of this film, without getting too deep into it, is that it centers on a young blind boy who ends up coming across a young deformed boy, and all the other people will treat the deformed boy as some sort of monster, but the blind boy doesn't see him, so he doesn't know what to be afraid of. He doesn't know what to be freaked out by. They end up creating this great bond, realizing that the deformed boy is a very talented young boy, and they end up working together to play music, tell his story. And I don't want to get too deep into what actually happens, because if you've only seen the trailer like I did, it doesn't really tell you what's going to happen. And if you're not familiar with the true life events here, then of course you're not going to know what actually happened. So I'm going to leave it at that. You have two individuals, a blind boy and a deformed boy, that work together to get their music to the masses. That's what I'll say in terms of the plot here. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the relationship between this young blind boy and this deformed young boy, Inu-Oh and Tomana. I really enjoyed their vibe over the course of the film. I really enjoyed their time spent together, and without a doubt, outside of the animation, that was what I clung on to the most. With that said though, one thing I really didn't grasp, I think, fully when I was watching the trailer was how much of this was really going to be a musical. So I won't lie when I say that the first half of this movie for me was really slow. It was picking up at first as we started to get set up, as our characters are meeting and the core story is starting to be set up. But as we get further into the narrative, I found myself just thinking to myself, I'm a little bit bored. And there were huge segments of the film that were just stories being told in music. So we have these characters, putting on street performances and going through an entire story via this music that they'd be playing. And there was an element about it that was charming, but there was an element about it at times that I found a little bit boring, personally. With that said, though, like I said, my mom loved it, my buddy Thomas loved it, and my other friend was kind of middle of the road with it. So with that said, I still liked it, and I still think this was a really entertaining film. I think it's a good movie. I think it's definitely worth your time if you're a big anime fan, but I do recognize that this is not going to blow everybody's socks off. If you're somebody who's like, hey, I'm not crazy into anime, do you think I'd like it? I think it's really going to depend, because if you're not already used to the things that you come to expect from anime, then there may be elements about this movie that may bore you or push you away or make you think that anime isn't all that exciting. Whereas in the case of this movie, it's not going for action, it's not going for big over-the-top superpowers or anything like that. This is a simple tale of two musicians trying to tell a story, trying to tell stories to kind of free themselves in the public eye without getting too deep into spoilers. And there's some family trauma and stuff that starts to arise, but overall, that's the general gist of this movie. And on its own, I found it to be a silly good time. There were elements about it that were really serious and heavy and have some serious themes, but there's a lot about it that's really goofy and silly at the same time. But the biggest thing I could take away from this movie for me was the animation. I think that's where I was really clung on to. The story was good. I liked the story, but I don't really know if I liked how all of the time on screen was utilized to tell that story, if that makes sense. For me, this was a case of enjoying the story, but the execution of the entire film was a little bit slow and dull for me at times, even if I could appreciate how good the animation was, the voice acting was, and how intricately the story was put together. I think this is a film that's going to work for some and not work for others. But for me, overall, again, the animation was stunning. I'm glad I went to see it. It was a different kind of film to go see in the theaters, especially here in North America. This is a film that has been rolling out through festivals since late last year, but is officially now getting its North American release. I don't know exactly when it's going to be getting a wider release in other countries, but overall, Inu-Oh I thought was a visually stunning anime. I think this is something that kind of conflicts me, because I went into it expecting to enjoy it a lot more, and I just came out saying I liked it, didn't love it. So that's the best things I could say about the film. Animation, the voice work, and the story's good, but the execution was a little bit slow for me at times, and it took me out of it from time to time. With that said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Have you guys seen Inu-Oh? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Are you familiar with the original tale that it's based on? Whatever the case may be, leave a comment down below, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos. And yeah, I just want to say how awesome it is again to have a film like this having a normal theatrical run here in North America. I really hope we start to get more anime films that will have normal theatrical runs here in North America. I know that we had one not too long ago with Jujutsu Kaisen. It was like a spin-off movie of that series, but I hope we get more standalone anime films like this premiering in theaters like AMC more often, at least in my local market, that are not a part of hey, a classic is coming back, or here's an expensive one-night premiere of this movie, which I'm not opposed to paying for, but money's tight in all of our lives, so it's nice to have something like AMC A-List that allows me the opportunity to see a film like this that maybe traditionally I wouldn't have gotten around to until it was on streaming. So a big thanks to you guys for watching again. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts, subscribe for more videos, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about Inu-Oh. Bye-bye.